The pj-fleck-show is presented by Window Concepts and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union.
Our how is everything. How you do something matters. Culture, how, next-on mentality. That better be first.
The pj-fleck-show starts now.
We are operating with another high-budget performance here on the pj-fleck-show. There you see it, another gorgeous autumn afternoon in downtown Minneapolis. Welcome in, everybody, to the pj-fleck-show, another edition with the head coach of Gopher football, PJ Fleck. Of course, to my left, former Gophers wide receiver Ron Johnson, KFAN's Justin Gaard. I'm Pierre Noujaim. The Gophers are just coming off a dominant performance against Maryland. 48-23 was the final. Minnesota winning its third game in a row. PJ, all season long you've kind of talked about putting together a full 60 minutes. Was this perhaps the most complete team performance we've seen so far from your group this year?
I think it was for about 52 minutes. You know,
Okay.
We got to be really living in truth and make sure our players know exactly what the standard is. But for 52 minutes, I thought it was. I mean, very complimentary football. Offense complementing the defense, defense complementing the offense. Special teams being that bridge and that gap and filling it in very nicely. I thought our guys had a great 2 weeks of practice, mindset, rest. And I thought they came out and played their hearts out. It started with the 4th and 1, getting that stop, and then from there, I mean, it was just execution after execution after execution in a good way. I think we show what we're capable of doing, what we've learned from the first 7 games, applied it to the 8th, but that's complimentary football, and for the most part, that's the standard of excellence.
And when you look at Max Brose, when we talked about him last week, we said, I asked you specifically, how good can he be?
Yeah.
Is this what you envision? Because when you watch his progressions, when you watch him look off one receiver, come to the next, when you watch him climb the pocket and hit the guy in the back of the end zone, I mean, he played pretty much perfect.
Well, I think that he's played like this for a while. You know, I mean, if you look at, we might have lost the game, or maybe we didn't make enough plays to win the game. We might have missed a field goal here, but I think that a lot of times, whatever your result is, then you look at it from a lens of like, oh, we're going to look at it through what we didn't do. And you win the game, people look at it from, let's look at it through what they did really well. We look at it very simply, did we live up to the standard or not? Result aside, is the process exactly what we needed it to be? And this is pretty consistent of his performances over the last few weeks. And I think he's really developed into a really good, obviously a really good quarterback, but I think he's just continuing to compare himself to himself. He's a great processor, he works really hard, he focuses on the process. And, you know, people got to see that on Saturday afternoon.
Max wins Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. Coy Parrish wins Freshman of the Week. What do you continue to see from the kid from ESCO as he continues to play this well?
He just loves playing football. It sounds simple, but he loves to compete. He loves playing football, and that's infectious. You know, anything he does, he wants to compete at. It doesn't matter if it's checkers, chess, football, walking to class. I mean, he's gonna find a way to be first, and he's going to find a way to make an impact in the game. He's one of the most confident individuals I've ever been around at any level, any sport, doing any activity. I mean, he'll be great at whatever he decides to do, even outside of football, because he's such a competitor. But he's also a guy when he works really hard and he gets the results from it, and he just keeps changing his best.
Along those lines, walking up the tunnel, I just happened to be behind him after the game. A security guard who he knows pretty well basically started chirping at him in a good way, saying, I think I could still lock you up 3. And how do you think that went with your safety freshman from ESCO?
Oh, he probably just said no way,
yeah,
in the most serious way.
It was a good moment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he just, no way. It's impossible in his mind, so he just moved on.
Yeah, offensively, you snuck him in there for a play, Coy Parrish. That you beat all of us to the punch on that. He just walked by me on the field. I said, where did he come from? Oh, he played offense for a play.
Well, most people thought we snuck him out. He snuck himself on the field.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't know that we were actually on offense. He just kind of went out there, lined up in the backfield. But, you know, it's something that we want to be able to dabble with a little bit. I don't want to put too much on his plate, but whatever we've been able to put on his plate, he's been fine. He's a competitor and an athlete. And if we can add another athlete on offense, and I'm not saying he's going to play 30, 40 snaps,
right,
but if we can find a way to get 8 to 10 snaps with him and doing different things, then we're definitely going to highlight that. He's one of the better playmakers with the ball in his hand. He just happens to play defense. So if you can bring him over for 8 to 10 plays, at least to start with, that's something that we're definitely going to look at.
Not to be outdone, Justin Wally, your veteran corner, had a big play early in this game. That interception return for a touchdown put you guys up 21-0 at that point. What did Justin see on that play? What did you see on that play that allowed him to get in a position to make a huge play that way?
It was a bait coverage, baiting him into, a cloud technique, thinking that we're in quarters and we're really in two. And I think he did a great job of jumping it. They do a really good job of throwing hinges into the boundaries like that. And so we had one that we kind of got right. And Justin Wally, that's his first pick six in the history of his football life. High school, college, I didn't know that. I had no idea. You just assumed Justin Wally's had a bunch of those just because he's made so many plays for us. And then obviously he was Mr. Mississippi in high school. So you think he'd make a ton of those. But that was a good feeling for him to be able to do that. I'm really proud of him. He's such a great leader on our defense and our football team.
And we look at, Daniel Jackson, Elijah Spencer, 2 big games. But of course it comes down to the quarterback, and we talked about that earlier in previous games. Some guys drop balls. These guys were catching everything. They seemed like they're in the right spot, but they were having fun. I could tell, being down on the field, watching those guys kind of celebrate each other, run to each other, dancing together. Like, it just seemed like they kind of brought the best out of each other.
Well, we kind of talked last week a little bit about, everybody's getting a piece of the pie. And when everybody's getting a piece of the pie, everybody enjoys sitting at the table. There's not like a little kid's table over there. Everybody's at the table, and everybody knows they're going to get a piece of pie. Now, I'm staring at our offensive tackle, Aireontae Ersery. He's like, wait a second, where's the pie? Where's the tackle pass? I'm at the table, and I haven't seen any pie yet. And he's 335 pounds. So, but it's
a slim 335,
and a great athlete, by the way. But it's really cool when you know that you're an option, no matter what option you are. And Max processes at such a high level that you could be the 4th or 5th read and get the ball, and you can end up with 10 catches that particular game. So that's what I enjoy about our offense right now, is we're finding ways to get everybody involved, and that's a credit to Greg Harbaugh and Max.
Daniel Falele ate all the pie at the Guaranteed Rate Bowl when you allowed him to run it in there. John Michael Schmitz got hurt. There's no more pie, correct? Well, we'll see.
You never know.
You never know.
Can Aireontae Ersery run the ball?
Oh, he might be one of the best athletes on the entire football team. He can run it. He can catch it. I mean, all you got to do is ask him. He'll tell you how good he is.
There's a tease.
In a matter of moments.
Yeah, there's a tease. 9 of 13 on 3rd down, and it wasn't like you were living in 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 all day. You had 3rd and 7, I think, a majority of those or more. So what was working on 3rd down to just keep converting?
It's just the execution. I thought Max was seeing the field really well. I think our guys, as Ron said, were in the right spots. I mean, especially in the zone defenses. We were running away from man coverage. We were creating separation. Max was throwing the appropriate ball based on the coverage. I think Max had a very good understanding of what they would do defensively in his preparation, and our guys went out there and made plays. And it's all about the proper depth. It's all about the separation. I mean, you could be a foot off, and that's a huge difference, right? So I thought our guys were really locked in, zoned in this week, and made the appropriate play.
We mentioned you've won 3 in a row now. What are some of the common themes you're noticing from your team, not just in the games, but in preparation for these games?
Well, I think everybody just is all bought into just getting better. It sounds so cliche and so dumb sometimes when coaches are like, we just got to get better. I say it all the time. And Aireontae's shaking his head. He's like, yeah, it's pretty dumb. But it's we talked about this DIB. Just whatever we've done, just learn and do it better. So learn the lesson, leave the event, and then live in truth. And if you do that, you're going to grow. You have no choice but to grow. And if our guys can continue to keep living in the truth, living in the now, living in the process, leaving the events, there's nothing you can do about last week, and there's nothing you can do about Saturday yet, but you can affect now. And I think they're all bought into that. It's a very close team. They're very tight. They were fun to coach at 2 and 3 because they all had that mentality. And it was just a matter of time before they were able to get some success from all of that.
And when you talk about that, living in the now, moving on to what's next win, you're bowl eligible. I know you talk about having the extra practices, having the extra time with the players having the extra time to put more film out there. How do you begin to make that the standard or talk to the players about that? That is our goal to be bowl eligible, but also still, we have a lot of season left.
I think that goes without saying. I don't think I have to tell teams at the University of Minnesota anymore that that's one of our objectives. I think that's I think we're beyond that piece of our expectation, but I do believe that the 1-0 philosophy is the only way to live by. You can't go chase something that's not there yet. We know that there's rewards for certain things you accomplish. There is only 12 opportunities, 36 hours of football once a year. That's all you get. You get 36 hours of game day football. So you can't take anything for granted. And you watched last year, we were in a position that we didn't do that. But academically, we were able to be eligible because of the whole program. But we can't focus on that piece, and we'll never focus on that piece. That was year one and maybe year two. And other than that, like, we don't really talk much about that. It's about finding a way to be 1-0, keep improving, and just taking it for exactly what it is.
Well, we've teased it enough already, not much of a tease at this point, but Aireontae Ersery is going to be joining us on set. When we come back, the Gophers starting left tackle will be sitting down with us. We'll talk some football. Who knows? Maybe we'll even talk some pie. We might even talk Kansas City barbecue with Aireontae. All that and more coming up on the PJ Fleck Show.
You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back into the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. Joined now on set by a very special guest. It's your starting left tackle for your Minnesota Gophers, Aireontae Ersery, joining us now. Tay, good to see you, my man.
Good to see you too, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you. Let's start with this 3-game winning streak that you guys have been on. I know PJ alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show, saying, you know, your attitude was the same at 2-3. Now you're 5-3. But what are some of the things that you've noticed during this winning streak that has allowed you guys to elevate your game in the way that you have?
I think one of the things I noticed, man, is just our connectivity. You know, as a team, you know, being able to connect on and off the field, I think has helped with our on the field success. So it's a credit to Max, you know, for getting us around, us going to O-line dinners. Credit to Quinn, us going to his cabin. So that's what it leads to, our off-the-field activities, for sure.
And when you talk about the team as a player, man, like I appreciate left tackles, by the way, seriously. You guys are the core piece of an offensive line. Like, without you, we don't get the ball. But when you talk about Max Brosmer, because PJ's mentioned this a bunch, he can come to the line, he can decide who the blocker, he can renumber the mic. How instrumental is that, knowing your quarterback and you trust, hey, look, if he says this is how we got to block it, we got to block it this way?
I think it's very important because, you know, Max, as you can see, he's different, man. He's a different cat. He's wired different. He's always here all day, all night in a QB room with Coach Harbaugh and the other guys. And I think it's important as O-line because that we see that, you know, because it builds, like, you know, I know he got my back. I know he got our back, and he's going to make sure that we in the best position to go out there and, you know, be successful.
And when you think about conversations on offensive line, I played tight end for a little bit, so I was able to hear how offensive tackles and guards and tight ends and tackles talk. You guys hanging out this offseason, you guys going to dinners.
Yeah.
Again, trust. I trust that I know I have to block this guy. I know he's going to help me, so I have to force him inside. How much does that help as well, like being able to say, like, yep, I'm going to trust my brother. I know he's going to be there if we have a combo block.
It's funny because we all play, you know, different positions, but we all play O-line.
Yeah.
So we kind of know, like, you know, how the position is played. So it's like, it's just a feeling that we just have with each other, like our bond, like we just know that we got each other back. And it's a credit to Coach Fleck as well, us doing our activities, you know, fall camp and from January to now. And Coach Cal, his personality is off the charts and funny. It starts in the O-line room. So, yeah, man, it's a bunch of fun with those guys, man.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. PJ, I have to imagine when you're set at left tackle, a head coach can sleep a lot easier at night. What could you say more about this young man, the way he's been able to just grow and develop into the player that he is today?
What's the old political term? One more year.
Yeah.
One more year, right? That's what I got to say to him. I just don't think we can afford him after this year. I mean, that's what's great. He's still got one more year of eligibility, so I'll leave it up to our fans to keep hitting him up, telling he's got to stay. It's hard not to smile when you get around Aireontae Ersery. I mean, he has such he's a breath of fresh air. It's hard to say that. He's 6'6", he's 335 pounds. He's got one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen from one of our players. And in the 12 years of being a head coach, he truly is a privilege. It truly is a privilege and an honor to coach him. And when you get him outside of this, I mean, he leads our team for the most part in community service. When he gets around, you know, the Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House, elementary schools, he just lights up. And that's a credit to him and his family. He's got this great outlook on life, and he's got a very, very bright future, not only for the Gophers, but after that.
And it's crazy when you see Martez Lewis and then you see Aireontae Ersery. He makes, like, Aireontae look small next to Martez Lewis sometimes, like just how, like, just the size of these two guys. Like, how is that for you, and then, like, for you too, when you look at those two tackles and you're like, my goodness, Like, you guys are some big dudes.
Well, they're all smaller than Daniel Faalele. I mean, let's not forget. I mean, Daniel was in here, and this guy looked like a tight end compared to that guy. You know, they call it the Big Ten for a reason. You better be big up front, and you better be athletic, and Aireontae is definitely both of those.
And you joked about athleticism. Daniel Faalele, he got a carry. Like, can you up that with
Look, you got Ron lobbying for you.
Can you
talk
up
about
that
Ron?
with a tight? Because we've seen the Detroit Lions, you know, tackle eligible. Could we see Aireontae Ersery maybe in a bowl game?
If he comes back one more year, we'll get him multiple passes, and I'll guarantee him one a game.
Dangling it right
Tackle
in front
pop
of you there,
pass. Could you catch a tackle pop pass?
Of course, man. What? It doesn't matter what position I'm playing, man.
He might be one of the. This is all joking aside. He might be one of the best athletes, pound for pound, on the entire football team. Like when he does the combine, not this year, next year, he will crush that. I know what he's going to do in the offseason to get ready for that, but when he does that, it's at a different level. Our players stop to watch him do the shuttle, the 40. This dude is unbelievable.
We might talk about Illinois in a second, but I want to talk about something very, very important. You're from Kansas City, so Tay, walk me through. We're not going to talk about where you go, but when it comes to brisket, ribs, pulled pork, whatever it is that you like, walk me through and kind of what's the top three in terms of when you're ordering the barbecue, what has to come first?
Number one for me, it probably had to be Gates.
Okay.
For brisket, people are biased. I'm gonna say Gates.
Okay.
They do like a beef on bun. It's like sliced brisket.
Sounds fantastic.
Jack Stack has like the ribs, like the chopped up ribs.
The burnt ends.
Yeah, burnt ends.
Burnt
Yeah,
ends.
they have those. Those are delicious. And I'll probably have to say Arthur Brown's. Arthur Brown's is always another good place. It's right down the street from Gates. So.
Classic staples of Kansas City
classic
barbecue.
staples,
If you've never been to Kansas
The way
City
you
barbecue.
talk about it, though, it's like it's just like you go to a
see him
different world. His face just went to a different. Like he was transported.
making me hungry thinking about it.
He was transported somewhere else other than here for a quick second.
Hey, he could have done a whole segment on that, guys. Like, if you would have kept him keep listening, he would have kept listening.
So during workouts, when it's tough, and you got to fight through this workout, is that where you go sometimes? Like,
I'm definitely thinking about a brisket sandwich with fries and the barbecue sauce on the side, man, when I'm working out. Man.
Tay, rest assured, you are not the only one. I mean, when I'm at my desk getting this show ready, I'm absolutely thinking about a brisket sandwich. So you are not the only one, my friend.
Pass every game and all you can eat barbecue for the rest of his entire career on the sideline if he comes back one more year.
You got there's a lot dangling in front of you to come back for one more year.
Sideline brisket.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love
Look
it.
at the opportunities.
Tay, we certainly appreciate you taking the time, as always.
sir.
It's always great to see you. Continue
sir.
health and
Good to see
success
you
the
too.
rest of the way.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about this weekend's opponent. The Fighting Illini of Illinois await the Gophers this Saturday. We'll preview this weekend's matchup when we return.
Welcome back to the pj-fleck-show.
Thanks for staying with us here on the pj-fleck-show. Time now to look across the field at this weekend's opponents, the Fighting Illini of Illinois, and they are a team, PJ, that has played you guys tough over the last couple of seasons. What makes this year's Illinois team particularly tough to play against?
Very well coached. Bret Bielema does a great job. He did it. Wisconsin did it. Arkansas, and now he's doing the same thing in Illinois. He creates a real tough mindset and this mindfulness of just physical football. And offense, defense, special teams are all aligned. The quarterback's very, very talented. Might be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire Big Ten. They got big-time wideouts, got a very experienced offensive line, and they do a good job of getting the ball to the backs and tight ends. They beat a lot of ranked teams. I think they're a team that's beat the most ranked teams, one of the teams that beat the most ranked teams in the entire country right now. And they're ranked for a reason. 6-2, playing really well. And defensively, they have a very unique scheme with guys that fit their scheme. And it's really hard to peel back the onion and know exactly what they're doing because they switch up the looks so often and they make everything look the same. But very good football team, really good specialists. And heading out to Champaign against a ranked team is going to be a great challenge for us.
And we look at Illinois. Luke Altmaier's been sacked 23 times. A lot of the announcers are saying get the ball out of his hands quicker. You see the pick six last week. How does a defense use that knowing, he wants to get the ball out of his hands a little quicker to maybe get to him?
I think that's some people know what they're talking about, and some people just say it because it's a statistic.
Right.
Part of what makes him magical of what he does is how he can hang on to the ball, have the pressure, and deliver the ball with incredible accuracy, which the longer he does, the more separation his wideout has, and he moves around the pocket very well. Do they get him sometimes? Absolutely. But he's winning way more of those battles for the Illini than he's losing them. And I think people just focus on that as a statistic, and he's way better than that. And sometimes we don't want it to come out of his hand as quick because he's deadly accurate in everything that he does, and they got wideouts everywhere.
Well, a statistic here is nearly 1,000 yards for Bryant and Franklin between them. So what stands out about those two?
They create separation. They can both play above the rim. They create, the short area quickness along with the flat out speed. They played a lot of football for them. The timing of their offense is really, really good. It's hard to defend them because they're always in rhythm. We got to find a way to get him out of rhythm, just like we did with the Maryland quarterback. But this guy, I mean, he's comfortable in the pocket. He'll stand in there a long time. He'll deliver really accurate balls. He's a really good football player.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was saying, when you look, like Justin said, when you look at those receivers, though, mindset getting to the quarterback, are you like, do your DBs know, hey, you might have to do a little bit more man coverage than you've done before?
Well, it's not just the man coverage piece. It's just the ball is going to come out, and they're really good at the back shoulders. They're really good at, balls going out to certain depths and getting to that depth and really completing passes that a lot of guys can't complete. Mm-hmm. So they're very athletic, very long, very rangy, and they're all athletic and can make plays, which makes it a pretty good challenge for us. After speaking with Aireontae, I am now considering going as a brisket sandwich for Halloween later this week. But what are your Halloween plans? What does the team do? What's kind of the fun things that you guys do for Halloween? Well, we just did one of our great events on Monday. 250 kids from Hope Kids that obviously are in need medical attention and medical needs as they're waiting to get better or waiting for something to be transplanted. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into the Hope Kids, and we do this whole thing with our players and our staff. They dress up at this huge Halloween extravaganza. So we did that on Monday, and then just hand out some candy on Thursday night. Yeah, no,
at your house or here?
No, it's date night, so we got to be able to hand out some candy at the house. So people just don't know which house because we have now multiple houses in the same neighborhood. So if you don't like the candy, go to the other house.
Because I will be showing up for candy.
Fair enough. Happy Halloween, everybody. A reminder, join us on the Gopher pregame show this Saturday. Thanks for joining us, everybody.